Hello, ASEN 2021. Welcome. My name is Monica and I am from geeksgogo.com. And today I have these amazing, lovely guests, and we will be discussing geeking out as a community. Let's go on ahead and get started with a round of introductions. Let's start with Jenny.
Hi everyone, I'm Jenny with Prados Projects. Thanks for having me. I have been cosplaying since 2013 and I'm a foamsmith. I also run a small business on Etsy and I am also part of the Costumers with a Cause community as well as We Are Cosplay. Thanks for having me.
Hi, I'm Molly Southgate. I host a book podcast called Read Between the Lines. I had many podcasts. I co-own part of Southgate Media Group, which is a big podcast company, and I'm 14 years old. And I have a food blog called What's Molly Making? Lots of things, lots of projects.
Hey everyone, I'm Maria from the Madison Area Public Library, just a little south of Chicago. I've been a librarian for about 7 years. I've been working with teens and adults. I run a lot of our FanFest programs. I do a lot of panels for library professional days about FanFest and geeking out in our community. So this is a perfect panel for me to take a part of. Thank you, Monica, for having me. But yeah, just looking forward to talking about it, and thanks for inviting me.
Hi, I'm Starr. I have been cosplaying since 2014. When I have free time, I like to go to conventions, also team up with charitable organizations like Customers for a Cause, as well as We Are Cosplay. And I also recently started a trivia company, H&W Trivia. And thank you so much for having me.
All right, so we're here to discuss about geeking out as a community. How do you geek out with your community? Let's start with Jenny.
I guess cosplay has helped me build really great friendships over the years. Before cosplay, it was very much my 9-to-5 job, didn't really have any hobbies outside of that, just, hanging out with people from work. So as a community, cosplay has really been great because I am able to express myself. And I also am friends with people that do the same thing, are appreciative of the different fandoms that I'm appreciative of. And just all around great people. So that's why I think it's important to geek out as a community as well.
Molly, what is your I know you kind of like grew up in the convention scene. You've been going to conventions since you were little, but how do you geek out?
Well, during COVID, it's been a little bit trickier, but pre-COVID, I would be going to cons and stuff like that. I've got my book podcast at the last C2E2 I was at. It was so cool because I was able to really make connections with different authors and artists and writers there. And I've been trying to make like connections and friendships. That's actually how I met Maria, was at the first ever con I went to. And so I think it's really important, especially for younger people, because it can introduce them to like a whole different like sphere of the world. Like they can really find their people.
Just segueing off what Molly said, I met her at a convention prior for me becoming a librarian. I do artwork and crafting and things like that with my husband. He publishes his own comics. And for me, just a fandom and the community itself meant a lot to me. So when I started as a teen librarian, the easier way to get kids to open up is to connect with what they like. That could be anime, that could be manga, it could be video games. There's fandoms and so many different things, different cultures, different communities. But the one way you can always get kids to come and talk to you is by relating to what they love. And so like, with Marvel and DC and comics, it's so easy to get them to segue to read, get them into the movies, get them into cosplaying. And it's almost like a door that you open up to them. So I like geeking out because it would make my job easier. So.
For me, piggybacking off of everyone, going to cons and just finding similar kindred spirits. I know that geeking out for like movies, like when midnight premieres pre-COVID were a big thing, I would like to dress up, either like wear something geeky as an homage to the movie, and finding like-minded people that way. Even within my family, getting them to feel more comfortable and just to introduce them to various different genres. It's been super rewarding and just a lot of fun. And it's nice outside of the mundane 9 to 5 job, because I work in a corporate setting in finance. So I really don't get to celebrate that aspect. So it's a great outlet.
We talked about how you geek out as a community, but last year there's a huge shift on that, right? We're still a community, but we geek out in our own little ways. With the global catastrophe that we've been having, a lot of these relationships has changed. For you, what do you think this shift means after what we've experienced last year from COVID? And how do you keep geeking out when all you can do is stay inside, or you have limited spaces to geek out in, I guess? Molly, would you like to get started? Because I know you mentioned a little bit about that earlier too with your answer.
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, I was actually, as you were saying that, it just reminded me of what just happened with like Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision, like this, all of this stuff on Twitter and Tumblr and Instagram and everywhere, people connecting over that because everyone was watching it. And it was like this sort of shared experience. And I think that trying to find as many experiences like that as possible is the best thing. And like even earlier, The Mandalorian, like how I did not watch it, but everyone I knew was watching that show and still finding ways to geek out with members of a community and a fandom. But cons are going to be very different. I know. I honestly don't know how those are going to look in the future.
Maria, you work at Madison Public Area Library, and you ran a few of the mini Comic Cons, so that's certainly going to change. So what do you think about the shift after what had happened this year, and what do you think about moving forward?
Well, you were at our first one we had in 2019, and we expected at least like 300 people. Molly was there too, and we got close to 1,000. We did not expect the community outpour. And that just goes hand in hand to why we're talking about communities and geeking out, because the need was there. Like, we're kind of too south, and we weren't sure if we were too south from Chicago for people to come out. But yeah, when COVID hit, a lot of libraries used social media as a platform for calendar events, to show news, what's coming in that's brand new to the library. They didn't use it as a platform to connect, really. So when everything happened, I saw it as a challenge. I love challenges, and I didn't want to give up the Fan Fest. I made it a 2-day event in August. So from about June to August, I reached out to you, Monica, and some other of our friends, and we put together great panels. But you know what I found out that was the coolest thing about learning through the pandemic is that there was no boundaries. So the people I couldn't find to represent my community better, as cosplayers or as panelists, as artists, I was able to just break the barriers by doing it digitally. And I had a wonderful group of diverse women for cosplay. I had so many different artists. So going forward, like I had mentioned, it's just there's a need to do both now. You should do some digital and then some in person. We're looking at doing a little bit of both at maybe the fall of this year. But the need is definitely there. It's easier. I tell people now that when I do panels for FanFest that there's no excuse not to represent diversity and inclusion, because you can have diversity, but it might not be the inclusion you want. You want to showcase them and include them in panels and things like that. But digital, like doing this right now, this is something we would have never thought of last year.
Yeah.
So, so that's one thing that I did learn a lot, is that it breaks down boundaries.
So for me, virtual has been the best way to be able to celebrate while still being in the middle of a pandemic. We should be staying home if you can, of course, contingent on people's lifestyle and work, but I've been able to stay connected with my peers and my cosplay and geek family. Thanks to that, I probably would have gone completely batty without that. And it's most definitely opened the doors for more possibilities. I've been able to do more panels probably than I could have done in a physical setting. And it's just going to be interesting to see what happens. in the future. I don't think that it will ever be the same. I hope it doesn't go back to that. I think I agree with the previous panelists as far as having a hybrid. I think that that's going to be one of the best ways to have conventions and events going forward.
Well, the pandemic, working in trade show industry myself, has really flipped my world upside down. Just because work hasn't been there in terms of trade show things that we've been doing. So that's been a little bit weird to kind of get used to. But in terms of the virtualness of things that have been happening throughout the last year and this year, I feel like it's been way more accessible to people that don't live in that community or don't live nearby, where they can just, hey, I'm going to go over and go to C2E2 or whatever, or ASIN or wherever. So it's been nice. I don't know if you guys noticed, or excuse me, I don't know if you watched last year, but San Diego Comic-Con had virtual stuff. So I ended up watching the majority of that stuff as I was able to. It was nice because it was pre-recorded. You didn't have to stick to their schedule. So hopefully this is something that will continue to happen, like everyone else was saying. In terms of how I've gotten through the pandemic with the virtualness, you know, I really enjoy Zoom chats and virtual things like that. I was actually able to go to one of Starr's trivia things, which was awesome, you know, with my friends that are in different states as well. So that was a lot of fun. But I've had to get really creative with the ways that I'm spending times with my friends.
Yeah, and I like that you mentioned that time is so weird with the whole time zone issue, with the whole, some people have to work odd hours, you know, stuff like that. We realized after this pandemic, and this is kind of like a blessing in disguise almost. I know it's not a lot of people like see it this way, but I have a friend who is who has a disability, and not a lot of events really cater to their needs. And by having stuff virtual and having stuff pre-recorded, and like Jenny was saying, right, um, it's easily accessible. If you miss it, that's not a problem. If you miss it on this day, you can always rewatch it. It's all there online for you to see. So there's a lot of like resources. What types of resources did you use when you were trying to keep the geeking out with everybody? Let's start with Maria. I know you talk about a lot about what things you were doing for the library to keep the momentum going.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off what you said about people with disabilities. We actually had patrons tell us that they were limited in what they can do at the library prior to COVID, and they were able to take part in things now that we're doing so many things digitally. Like we had people from different states come out for like Jackbox games, you know, things like that, and it was just fun and it was different. And our reach changed, our outlook of just our community. And I think the way all libraries are looking at it, it's not just our community and who we serve, it's we serve everyone. And that's what libraries should do. But yeah, it was real difficult because like Zoom was kind of still brand new. Like people knew about Zoom, people use like Google Hangouts or Skype. So like that was like a learning curve in itself, trying to figure out what to do. I learned by one of our other friends, Brian, about StreamYards, like, you know, like just different ways for you to see people interacting with you through comments, how to do YouTube Premiere, Facebook, you know, like live. It was just a learning curve, and we wanted to make sure we had something accessible for everyone. So we did like trivia, we did like a cosplay where you just send in your picture through an email and we had people just like it or, you know, share it or give us a heart on that. And we had about 800 people vote. So I mean, like the need was there. We had, like I said, we streamed some video games, and that was before like Among Us really blew up. So we were doing that with Jackbox games. For our community, our media community, we did like make and take crafts. So we had like, you know, just kind of like geek themed crafts and things like that. And it's trivia, regular Google Forms trivia about different Marvel and DC things. But yeah, it was definitely thinking outside the box. But we learned a lot, embracing a whole different side of a community. and we were leaving out a part of the community we didn't even know kind of existed. So like you said, it was kind of like a blessing, because now we know these people are there, they want our content, and they want us to continue to be on this platform.
Yep. Just like before they were just kind of like left out.
Yeah, it was weird because they would come in, but like you said, work schedules. They couldn't come to our evening events, things like that. They couldn't take part in our crafting. But now it's like we do crafting. If we were to go back, it would be in person or a make and take. Go home and watch the video later. And then you have the supplies with you. So that opens up doors for even cosplaying. If you can't come to our cosplay 101, come pick up your supplies, watch a video later. So it's like, yeah, it definitely changed the way we looked at everything. And it's bittersweet because it made me feel bad that I didn't know that community was there, but a lot of us didn't. And we had to build on our platform, build on our social media, get better at marketing and editing videos and things we would have never done before.
Shar, how do you keep geeking out last year and this year, I suppose, because it's kind of like rolled over.
Piggybacking off of Maria, actually trivia. So I started out with my friends doing virtual trivia just because before COVID, I was going to various bars and restaurants on a weekly basis for trivia. And after doing it virtually, I decided that I wanted to start hosting it. So I've been able to pour a lot of my geekiness into H&W trivia and focus on all the fandoms that I love and hold dear to my heart. So primarily Disney and Pixar and Marvel, and now we're about to do Star Wars. And it's a great new challenging way because I can still dress up for the themes. I can reach out to people that I can't see because of the pandemic or because they're in another time zone. We actually had people from Australia come join us, and it's just been really rewarding. And it's a blessing in disguise, like how everyone else has said, because I don't think I would have had that push to do it if it wasn't there for a needed activity.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I was missing during the pandemic is the charity event aspect of it, because I would always go to Customers with a Cause events that, were kid focused and, we're there for the kids. Sometimes we're there for the adults, they enjoy both. But one thing that I actually joined was something called Operation Birthday during the pandemic.
Yes.
So this was really one of the things that I found that made the year go so much better for me. If I didn't have this, then I don't know mentally where I would be. But basically, it's just a Facebook group that joined together from people of all over the world. So we've got people that are, like Shar was saying, Australia. There's other people that are in England and all over the place. Basically what we did is we joined together and said, hey, we've got these cosplays, do any of your kids want videos for these cosplays? Is it a birthday video? Are we saying, hey, how's it going? This is going to be okay. This is, we're going to get through this, whatever. So you'd post every now and then and be like, hey, I've got this cosplay that's going to be on. Well, I'm going to be wearing this cosplay this weekend. Does anyone want videos, whatever? And through this, I was able to make, I think I'm up to about 500 videos for kids.
Wow. That's a lot.
The pandemic.
That's a lot.
You have no idea though. I was one of the ones that didn't post as much, so you can only imagine how many other people are doing like thousands of videos, but they were quick. They were like 20 seconds, a minute long, short tidbits to keep kids going as well. And we've had so many families and parents come back to us and say, oh my God, this made my kid's day. If I didn't have this, then I don't know what they would be doing because they're stuck inside all the time. So that's one thing that I was excited that I could continue to do through the pandemic.
Well, I like what I was saying earlier too. How everyone else was saying too, like it's very much a blessing in disguise with this because it's being able to access so many different things that I probably wouldn't have, like joining so many more communities on social media and like watching people's Facebook lives and playing Among Us online with friends, and like really being able to connect with people. Like I, for a while, would join in all these watch parties for a show that I liked. And it's really introducing, at least from my perspective, a new generation into this like sort of online landscape and how to find fandoms and that kind of thing online when maybe you can't see people in person. So yeah.
How do you like, now that we're seeing a lot of surge, right, for making things really accessible, like how do you get people to geek out with you and your community? Like I know like sometimes people are very intimidated. Like let's say for example with the trivia, Shar, let's start with you. You know, because we talk about this a lot sometimes, you know, people are sometimes very intimidated to geek out because, oh, I might not be geek enough, or I might not know enough about this to warrant me to be a part of that community. Like, how do you get people in and how do you invite people in?
I try to find like a common bond or a topic that gravitates them. And also, I'm actually trying to work on improving this. So this is a great point. And yes, we have most definitely discussed this. I want to make, for example, with the trivia, different levels of difficulty. So then that way, like some of the easy things that any level fan may know, and then it gets a little bit challenging. So I want to try to inspire their competitiveness and just have fun with it. And so of course we try to include like the music, little behind the scenes tidbits, or just like their favorite obscure character. Try to promote them. If they want to dress up like their favorite character, they can do that as well. I think that just trying to find one little hook that can at least tie them in will make the biggest difference. But it is most definitely an ongoing challenge. And I know that I felt that before with certain genres, and I haven't participated in more like Marvel or Star Wars, because even though like I love those genres, I don't know every single tidbit of them. I know enough to be dangerous, but I try to be mindful of that. But yes, it's most definitely a challenge, but a fun one at that.
Jenny, what about you? How do you you're like one of the most sweetest people I know. So what is your secret to getting people to geek out with you?
It's just being personable, you know. A lot of the times on my social media, I'll post and I'll ask questions, or you know, with TikTok, I'm starting to do more videos of me talking to the audience and saying, "Hey, how's it going?" and da da da. And I feel like people resonate with that, just, you know, as a human, you know, you're talking to this person and you're giving them something to reply back to, and you know, you're asking them questions. How are you doing today? And how's it going? Show me what you're liking in the comments or whatever. How did you like this this episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier or whatever, you know, and just starting conversations that way. One thing that I was worried about with the pandemic is just being so shut in and, you know, away from people, where it's total opposite, where everyone has accessibility to each other, and, you know, you're trying to build friendships across social media and keeping them going. So it's really nice in the day and age that we're in.
Molly, what about you?
Well, so for my podcast, even though I'm not like on live streams or anything with that, I still try to make it accessible for the audience, because I have not read a lot of the current book trends and stuff like that. And so I'm just open about it. Like when authors bring up stuff, I'm just like, oh, I haven't read that. Like I'm just honest about it. And hopefully showing people, like, even though that I'm the host of this and I know a lot about it, I don't know everything, because no one can. And like trying to create a community around it, like none of us can possibly know everything there is to know about that, so it's okay no matter what. And also just trying to show that everyone can geek out no matter what. And like I don't know a lot about Marvel or Star Wars or anything, but I still enjoy it, so I still have fun watching the movies and the shows and stuff. But yeah, it's just really trying to create a safe place that everyone can know no one knows everything, but it's okay.
Maria?
Well, for us, we kind of, well, what I noticed is that what libraries like to do, they like to put like ages on things. Like, this is a children's program, this is a
Yeah.
teens program, this is an adult program. And so when we did the Fan Fest, we kind of, I just was just like, no, we're not going to do that because everybody's at home. Parents were with their kids. You know, you're going to want to take make and takes for everybody. So when we did the Fan Fest, we just had like, here's a craft. We didn't say it was an age requirement. We didn't say it was an adult. We allowed anybody to call in, request, you know, X amount of kits that they wanted. So when we did our Makers Fair, which was a couple of months later, we did the same thing. We had things that looked like it was geared toward kids and adults. But when you called in, it didn't matter your age. If you were 7 years old and you wanted to make a wreath of flowers, you know, you can come and get those supplies. So that was another way we kind of like were breaking down those barriers that I was talking about during the pandemic. And also with gaming, when we did our live stream of just Jackbox or Among Us, we would do it in Zoom to keep it private, make sure that everybody that was involved, we can kind of monitor everybody because internet can be dangerous. With people bombing in and stuff like that. But we would have that, but then we would stream it, you know, to our Facebook page separately so people can watch and they'll say like, well, how can I play? You know, is it hard to play? And while one person's dictating the game, one person's helping that patron say, no, it's super easy. You know, do you want to come in and try? You know, so we encourage people that way. So as people can just watch, a lot of times spectators, they want to get involved, you know, but they don't know how to ask those questions. So that was one of the ways that we kind of figured out how to kind of maneuver through things with gaming, with crafting, and just getting people involved. We had like an indie author fair, and I told them it doesn't matter if you're just independently published, doesn't matter if you only have one book, you know, it's still an accomplishment. Do you want to come and talk about, you know, your trial and errors and things like that? And that was very successful. So I think just doing things like that, it's kind of just kind of breaks down those worrisome, because I mean, we were all at one point, I didn't know anything about video games, or I didn't know enough about Star Wars, and then you got into it, you know, but no one's a complete expert. No one really is. You can love something, you know, just love it and be you, be honest. And like, you know, you guys were all saying, if you don't know it, you just don't know it. It's fine, you know?
I love it. It's I like that you made the event and all the things you had to keep in mind that everything should be inclusive, and that's what the community is all about and what Geeking Out as a community is all about. So we are almost out of time. So for our last round, what would you like to see different or change Geeking Out as a community? Let's get started with Jenny.
As a community, I think we've touched base on it. Just being inclusive with what we're doing and how things are working. I really like what Maria said that she did with the non-age limit type thing. What's interesting is being a creator and a crafter, hobbyist, cosplayer. You get people on social media and your friends saying, "I could never do that." Like, oh, you're amazing, you do this and da da da. And I'm the type of person that says, okay, let me show you that you can. So before COVID, I actually had building sessions with people that are my friends. I've taught 3 or 4 different people now how to foam build. And what's fun is that I get to teach them, and I learn stuff from them too. It's a give and take type thing. But the great thing is, as they grow as a cosplayer, foam builder, whatever, they show me that they can do it, and they show themselves that they can do it. So that kind of builds them up in confidence and in what they're capable of doing, which is not something that they thought they would ever do. And that is something to me that makes me feel super happy, makes my heart happy, to be kind of cheesy about it. But that's what I love to pass on and say, hey, look, you can do it. So that's one thing that I'm trying to keep going with.
Awesome. Molly, what would you like to see moving forward? What would you like to see more?
Yeah, definitely everything that Jenny just said, and also very much like the no age limits, no, like putting less limits on it because you don't know what level of geekdom people are at, and just making sure it's a safe space for everyone, no matter what. And yeah, I really love what we were talking about too, with having it be a hybrid, because that is so much more accessible. And someone like me, I don't live in Chicago, I don't live in the city. And so it is so much better having everything be digital for me, because then I can like kind of split that time up and I can still be out where I live. And so, yeah.
Maria?
For me, it's just diversity and inclusiveness. It's just, who you invite to the party, but who do you really want to dance with? You know what I mean? It's like, there is no boundaries now. And as a library, like I said, so south of Chicago, we had a diverse community. And if I would have ever, I mean, I had you come out, I had Chris come out, and that was great because I know you guys from conventions, but when I go and talk to these other panels, other libraries, and they're like, well, we don't have this diversity. Digitally now, there's no excuse. Showcase everybody's talents. Let them know that you can be whatever princess you want to be, whatever superhero you want to be. It doesn't matter, your background, your color, your race, anything, just do it. So for me, it's just inclusiveness. Showcase diversity, but include them in whatever panels and things you're going forward digitally. No excuses to people out there. No excuses anymore.
Yep. And Shar?
Piggybacking off of everyone, just keeping a hybrid. I really hope that we can maintain the hybrid, virtual and in person. And also, this pandemic, it's not ending anytime soon, unfortunately. So just keeping in mind mindfulness. So in the future, that we don't have to worry about recklessness as much, and it can continue to be inclusive and fun, and hopefully more organizations and event planners are willing to take even small risk and try jump out on a leap of faith and say, okay, well, maybe I can do something on this topic, and I can try it out virtually, and I can see how well it fares out. And maybe if it's a success, I can eventually make it a physical one as well. So I just hope that the innovation continues and thrives.
And I'd like to add to everybody, like moving forward, I would like to see I know like Maria's library has done a really good job kind of just going over and being more diverse. I would like to see more companies do that as well. Um, we can't always reach every single company and tell them, hey, we're here to make your event diverse or your space diverse. It also has to come from these people and from these companies. You need to want to have that diversity in there. You need to want to create this community because at the end of the day, what really drives, I mean, let's face it, what really drives conventions, what really drives, like their products and sales and everything is the diverse groups of people that geek out. That's pretty much what it is. And yeah, just be proactive about it. And we'd all really appreciate it. Because then everyone will feel very included in your space. So okay, so we're let's go on ahead and remind everyone where we can find you on social media.
I'm Prado's projects on everything social media based. So Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and then Etsy, since I do have a small business as well.
Molly, where can we find you in social media?
Yeah, I am on Instagram as Molly_Southgate. Read Between the Lines podcast on there, and What's Molly Making. You can find my Facebook pages, and it's What's Molly Making and Read Between the Lines. I am on Twitter as @RBTL podcast as well.
Maria?
If you guys want to see some of my reviews, I do reviews on books I like, video games, and then everything I do as far as library world's concerned. It's on my website, thepagemage.com. You can also check out our FanFest page for Matson. It's mapldfanfest.com too. We have our own separate page. You can find us on social media. Yeah, if you go to those pages, you'll see my personal work email. If you have a question about FanFest or how to get started professionally, it's not hard. Just reach out. I'm there to help.
And finally, Miss Shar.
Again, Starr Cosplay. I am on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And H&W Trivia is on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and soon TikTok.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this panel. And thank you so much for watching this panel. We really had a lot of fun. If you have any questions, I will link all of the social media on the description for you. And you can find anyone you please follow these amazing individuals because they're just, I wouldn't invite them to this panel if they weren't amazing. But anyway, keep safe, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.